Hi, everybody. My name is Taylor Harris, and I'm here to introduce our application called Codetari. It's a learning environment for both those new to coding and those who want to brush up on the basics to study terminology, syntax, and fundamental concepts for multiple coding languages. The vehicle for this is our large variety of mini games. As fellow people new to coding, we wanted to give back, so we wanted to make an environment to create a resource for other users that we would also find useful for ourselves. I would now like to pass it to Laban to talk about our tech stack.
Hi, my name is Liban Bihai. For our tech stack, we use Java and Spring Boot to create a RESTful API located on a server with an H2 database. For our front end, we use JavaScript, HTML, CSS, GSAP, and Figma. I specifically worked on the back end of development, creating questions sent to the games through JSON data. Now I'll throw it to Tyler to talk about our first game.
Thanks, Liban. I worked on using the Spring Initializer to make a Gradle build. I developed the structure of the backend with our POJOs and a couple of the questions and put in the rock, paper, scissors game, which runs on a random number generator. The user will then pick an option, and if you get it right, you get a point. If you get it wrong, you get a question. If you answer that question correctly, then it does not take away from your score. If you get it wrong, it takes away from your score. If you go below 0, you lose, but if you get above 10, you win. So that creates a little bit of motivation for knowing your stuff and getting those questions right. Now I will go ahead and pass it to Kayleen.
Thank you, Tyler. Hello, my name is Kayleen Ellis, and I work with the front-end team of Codetari and create the game Code Cooking using HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and PNG images. Due to time constraints, the game is a working process, but overall, the user will choose a chef and the user will be put in front of a judge to cook a certain recipe. There are 3 rounds with each question per ingredient. If the user picks the correct answer, the game will allow the user to use an ingredient needed for the recipe. If the user picks the wrong answer, the game will not allow the user to use an ingredient and will go on to the next question for the next ingredient, ultimately lowering your score. It's a fun way to increase knowledge in coding and cooking. And now I'll hand it to Faray to explain the next game.
Thanks, Kayleen. Hi, my name is Faray Dagnew. I created the Camel game. The Camel game was used using HTML, JavaScript, and CSS. The JavaScript animation is what allowed the cars to come down gradually at a specific time. The questions you see displayed are questions fetched from the API. Once the user answers 3 questions wrong, then the car gets on top of the camel, which means the game is officially over. And if the user answers 12 questions right, then the user wins the game. For the next game, we will have Patrick that will explain Takeoff.
Thank you, Faray. Hi, my name is Patrick Hastings, and I worked on the Codetari front end, creating the game Takeoff. So using Figma to design the art and JavaScript to execute the game logic via GSAP animation, this game is designed to access all the questions from the API in a randomized and intuitive display. So while also creating a fun sense of urgency. So if you answer a question correctly, your spaceship will lift off, giving you a boost towards your goal of reaching the moon. However, if you take too long or answer incorrectly, you will notice your spaceship get pulled by gravity and ultimately trigger collision detection if you cannot interrupt it with the correct answer. So it's a fun way to improve your knowledge while testing your speed without actually breaking anything expensive. The next segment is a really clever adaptation of a game you're probably familiar with called Space Invaders, built by Chandon. Enjoy.
Thank you, Patrick. This is an adaptation of Space Invaders. Obviously, replaced the invaders in that array with coding characters. Thought it'd be a good idea. It's a fully functional game. Plays like Space Invaders, right? I incorporated the questions that's fetched from the API. If you actually answer multiple questions correctly, it's actually 3 questions correctly, you'll get an upgrade in your ship. So you start to shoot more projectiles. So that was a fun adaptation. That's my game, and I'm going to pass it on off to Tyler for our closing statements.
Hey, thanks, Chandon. So we are really proud of the work we were able to do in getting these multiple functioning mini games up and running. And If we have more time, we would add some more functionality to these games, add a couple more questions to that library. But the biggest thing we would really like to do is create a user and administrator login where users could be linked with their friends and be competitive with these games, and administrators could be in charge of a group of users if it was for a class and be able to add questions. As you can see, I think Taylor's about to pull it up now. Yep, all of our profiles are on here. If you click on the dev team, and you can get our GitHubs and LinkedIn's there. But that is what we had to show you today. We hope you enjoyed it.